right, hey guys, Mr. Kyle Myers Mathematics, and let's just jump into it. This is number 2 on a practice exam. It's for a particular student, but anybody who has this practice exam or the class or the teacher or whatever, you can benefit from this too, and I hope you do. So let's see, we're looking at number 2. It says let f of x be the piecewise defined function, which is all of this stuff right here. Okay. Okay, part A, 6 points. What is the domain of f? Write your answer in interval notation. Domain of f is blah, 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 blah. I'm going to read through all of it first because I want to decide what's the first thing that we really want to start with. It might be to find out what the graph is. I don't know, we'll see. What's the range? Okay, interval notation for that as well. Which diagram above is the graph of f? And which diagram above contains the point 0, comma, -2. Okay, so actually the last question seems like it's going to be the easiest one to answer. So let's answer that one first. Which diagram above contains the point 0, -2? So that's an open circle. That doesn't actually contain the point. It's an empty space or a removable discontinuity, or you can just call it a hole. It's a hole in the graph. So all of them that I've pointed arrows at so far are open circles, except for this one. So 3 does actually contain the point 0, -2. The other ones get close to it, but then they have an open circle at that precise location. Okay. So for part C, the diagram that is the graph of f is probably not going to be the same one, but it might be. Let's see. So we want to figure out which one it is, and in order to do that, let's look at the pieces. So I usually like to do 2 different colors for the different pieces. Let's do maybe, let's do red, and blue maybe. So blue for the first piece. This is a line. So that is the line y equals 2x plus 3. So that has a slope of 2, or 2 over 1, right? So I'm going to rise 2, run 1. But I need to start with the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is 3. So 3 as in 0, comma 3. Okay, it looks like all of the graphs have or get close to 0, comma 3. So that's something they all have in common. And then we want a slope of 2. And it looks like all the graphs have a slope of 2 as well. Let me double check here. So that point, whether it's an open circle or not, it still kind of like helps me to figure out what the slope is. So right here, that looks like that's a slope of 2. That's a slope of 2. That's a slope of 2. So they all have that other point, -1, 1. And then I would go up 2 and over 1 to get to the 0, comma 3. So they all actually have the same slope. And they all have a y-intercept of 3. So really it just comes down to where it starts and where it ends. It starts at -3. So the first part of that is -3 less than x. Or if I flip it around, that would be x is greater than -3. Okay, well for the x value of -3, it needs to be greater than, only greater than, which means it has to be an open circle, and that's actually only the graph of 4. So we already know it's the 4 graph, because it's an open circle right here, and the other ones have closed circles. That's a closed circle, that's a closed circle, that's a closed circle, that's an open circle. We need it to be an open circle. So it's definitely already got to be this one. But just to double check here, the next part of the inequality is that x is less than or equal to 0, which means it has to have a closed circle. This one does have a closed circle. So it is a closed circle there. This one has an open circle. So that's no bueno. This one actually does have a closed circle, but we've already established which one it is, and that one has an open circle. It needs to be a closed circle. Okay, so we actually don't even need to check the parabola at this point because we already know which graph it is. But just to show you some of the points, in case you had started with that, x squared minus 2 means that when x is 0, y is -2. that's going to be down here, and it looks like it's the same for all of them, except we know that for the red graph, x has to be strictly greater than 0, not greater than or equal to, so it's got to be an open circle. Open circle. And all the other ones that are wrong have open circles. This one has a closed circle, so it's definitely not that graph. The other ones also have open circles. That one, and that one. And then it's got to have a closed circle on the end, because it's got to be x less than or equal to 2. So at this point, I'm really just like double and triple checking here. The rest of them have closed circles, but again, we know this one is the only one that checks all the boxes. So it's got to be graph number 4, and we'll say graph number 4. We'll circle that in purple there. Try to differentiate the answers. Okay. So the reason why I'm kind of going backwards here is because, one, I'm a little bit biased because I'm a visual person, so I like visual ways to understand what I'm trying to do. If you're not, then you might still benefit from doing it backwards anyways, because even if you're not, it just kind of helps to see what the graph is, and it helps us to figure out what the domain actually is. So speaking of, let's go back to, we'll do B first. Since we're going backwards, we did D, then we did C. Let's do B next, if we're going to go in reverse order here. So for the, let's use orange. Let's use orange here. So for the range, we start at the bottom, like the furthest down the graph goes, which would be right here. And it looks like it starts at -3. So it starts at -3. It doesn't include -3 because there's an open circle. Okay. And then it goes up, and you would think maybe we'd have to not include -2 because there's an open circle there. But over here, wherever this y value of -2, whatever x value results in that, there is an actual point on that graph. A line is a series of like an infinite number of points, basically. So even though there's an open circle right here, it's filled in over here. There is some sort of x value between -2 and -3 that gives us a y value of exactly -2. So we don't need to stop at -2. And as we go up, 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 again, the other graph starts right here at y equals 2, but then it keeps going on this line all the way up to 3. All the way up to 3. And it includes the +3. So that would be our answer for that. So -3, 3. And there we go. So then last but not least, and I guess we'll use green for this one. Oh, let me make sure I'm using orange there. There we go. Okay. We're color coding everything, so it's easy to figure out what work belongs to which part. So then we just need the domain, and we're going to do the same thing, but instead of going from down to up, from the negative side of y to the positive side of y, we're going to go from the negative side of x to the positive side of x. So we're going to go from left to right. And we actually start at the same point that we started at for the range. The lowest point is also the furthest to the left point, which is, ironically enough, also -3. So that point is -3, -3. So we're using the x part of that, just happens to be the same on this problem. And it also is not included because it's an open circle, so we're starting out exactly the same way. Then we go over, 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 and there's a closed circle here, an open circle here. Okay, so as long as there's a closed circle somewhere, then we don't have to, have a break in the domain. So we have all the negative x values from -3 all the way to 0. We include 0, and then we have all the positive x values all the way until we get to the end of the graph, which is right here at +2, and it looks like we include that +2. So that's going to be my answer for that, including that, not including that. And that about does it for number 2. So hope that's been helpful. You can see other resources that I have on YouTube here on my channel, and then you can also check out other things I have on my website, myersmathematics.com, which is down in the description below, like the 5 math mistakes everyone makes and how to avoid them. So go grab that. You can check out other things I have on my website as well, like if you want to know more about me and what I do, if you're interested in tutoring, all that good stuff, you can check that out over there. But anyways, I'll catch you in the next video. Have a blessed day, y'all.